Hey retro gamers. Today on Smashing Bricks, we're wishing you a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays with a bonus episode in honor of this December 24th, Christmas Eve 1988 release. The beginning, some would say, of a franchise, even though it was a sequel. Today we're playing Capcom's Mega Man 2. Hey, welcome back to Smashing Bricks, a retro gaming podcast. This is episode 36. My name is Eddie Inzauto, and today I'm joined once again by the Blue Ryan Bomb Brandies. The Blue Bomber, Brian Brandies.
That's a good nickname. I suppose I could fits the Mega Man theme over here. Yeah, definitely wearing my metal outfit. Hello, great to be back here. Hello, everybody.
Now, I'd like to know, do you have a cannon for an arm, or are you holding a pistol like on the North American box art for Mega Man 1 and 2?
I have no arm cannon, but Brian is actually an acronym of Biorobotic Information Acquiring Neural Network, so I'm actually Mega Man in disguise, so you are right.
Oh my God.
Brian means Mega Man secretly deep down.
Awesome. All right, so yeah, we did play Mega Man 2, and the reason you're actually listening to us right now is because I wanted to add a very special extra episode to round out the year, to finish out season 3 of Smashing Bricks, and there was no better game than Mega Man 2, and we'll find out why as we go. We know that it's a side-scrolling NES game that has platforming and shooting and action. Basic Nintendo game, right?
Yeah.
A lot of games of this style. Contra, that sort of thing. Going side to side, up and down, shooting at things. But Mega Man is like an epic and legendary franchise in gaming.
Yep, and we got the second iteration of it.
Yeah, I was shocked to look at how many games there are in the Mega Man series. Do you have any idea?
Oh, I vaguely do, only in the sense that I know there's like ridiculous spin-offs, like there's a soccer game, there's like this whole like virtual world thing, so I'm guessing there's got to be probably like 30 Mega Man games or something.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 in just the regular series. Then there's the Mega Man X series, which itself has 3, 6, 9, 12,
Wow.
18, 20. Then Mega Man Zero, which has 3, 4 of them. Mega Man ZX, I don't even know what that is. It's for DS. Then Mega Man Legends, Mega Man Battle Network.
Yeah, that's the goofy one.
Yeah, lots of Mega Man games. But this is number 2, which in a way was kind of like number 1.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you play Mega Man 2 immediately? I honestly remember you playing Mega Man 3 with me and George, but I don't remember 2.
Yeah, I don't know if any of us owned a copy of 2 necessarily, but yeah, no, 3 we definitely had, and 3 was like way too tough for me. I don't, probably even Mega Man 2, if like we rented it or I had it in my possession as a kid, it was probably still a little bit more tricky for me than I would have liked, so I probably did not beat it as a kid, but definitely remember revisiting it when I was like in high school and was first checking out emulators and stuff, and replayed it then and definitely beat it at that point in time. But yeah, I don't know about when I was, single digits kid.
Yeah. Yeah, I played this one at some point, but I can't pinpoint it. I vividly remember renting Mega Man 3 many times from the local video store. And I actually owned Mega Man 1. Poor
Yes.
me.
Yes, I remember that
And
one.
Mega Man 1 was super hard. Never beat it. Whenever I did end up playing Mega Man 2, whether it was on a cartridge, borrowed from someone, or doing it later on in life, I didn't beat that either. I never beat Mega Man 3, never beat Mega Man 4,
It's
but I've
surprising
played
too.
the
Yeah.
majority of them.
Because Mega Man 2, like, on the replay was, like, super easy. Like, I didn't use save states or anything. I was like, oh man, this is, like, so trivial now that I know what I'm doing. So I'm surprised, like, yeah, didn't figure it out and beat it as a kid or have some strategy guide to tell you all the weak points to make it trivial. But, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so little quick history about the game. It came out on December 24th, 1988. So it is 36 years old. And Mega Man, the first game, came out 1 year prior in December also. And this was in Japan. Then in North America, it came out June of 1989, and in PAL regions, December of 1990. Made by Capcom. The creator of Mega Man was Akira Kitamura, who did the artwork. Had a number of programmers. One famous name was Keiji Inafune, who went on to kind of be the face of the Mega Man series after Kitamura left Capcom. And one very important name for this game was Takashi Tateishi, who did the music for this and only this Mega Man game. And we'll talk
Interesting.
more about that a little bit later. Mega Man 1 wasn't a huge success. Seems like either in Japan or North America. I've read that it was kind of successful in Japan, but not in North America. Then I read from, I think, an interview with the composer that it wasn't, whatever it was. But they didn't really want a sequel. The producer, Fujiwara, didn't want to make a sequel, so Kitamura went to the VP of Capcom and asked to make a sequel for Mega Man. And he was allowed to on the condition that the team work on other Capcom games concurrently while they do Mega Man 2 on the side. So
Wow.
they just kind of like got permission to do their own little passion project at work, essentially. And these guys have reported, in interviews that they were working like 20-hour days doing this. And Inafune also said that the development time was only 3 to 4 months on this.
Wow.
They didn't do much play testing. I read that they essentially got stuff complete, made sure it functioned, and then moved on. They didn't take, for example, the Metal Blade through the game and see how all the enemies reacted to it or how it made certain parts of the game, whether it's harder or easier. Just as a little example
Hmm.
of what playtesting might have discovered. And they added an easy mode for this game, which they called normal in the North American release, and difficult in the North American release was just the basic mode in Japan. They only had one difficulty. This is the second highest selling Mega Man game of all time at 1.51 million units. And it was received very well. EGM gave it 8 out of 10, Famitsu 28 out of 40, IGN 9.5 out of 10, Mean Machines 95%, and Total 83%. That's all I had, but there were a lot of other things like awards and lists that come out later on, in the 2000s, and people refer back, or in the 90s, and people refer back to older consoles, and they're like, top games on the Nintendo Entertainment System. And this always shows up in those sorts of lists. even at very big name publications. So Mega Man 2 has a reputation for being one of the better NES games, period. So yeah, that's what people think of it. But what do we think of it? Because we just played it, and I played it in 2 sittings, and I think you played it in 1 sitting.
Yeah. I knew it was a relatively short game and was very accessible and beatable, unlike many other frustrating Nintendo games out there, so I was not afraid to just power through it in 1 sitting. I think, yeah, like no real major setbacks. Like, I think the most I had was the super annoying boss where you need to manage like your crash shots super like methodically. I was like, this is an annoying stage if you get if you die on that stage, it's like better to just like start from the beginning than to try to do the continue. Like the continue hurts you.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things in Mega Man games is how you go through these 8 levels, or in the first game it was 6, but in this one it was 8, and now it has a password system, so you don't have to do it all in 1 sitting, even though you just did. We could have stopped and come back without save states, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
But so you choose a level based on the robot master, as they're called, the bosses, and then that level is going to be themed. You run through, you fight a boss, maybe you kill him, maybe he kills you, and then you gain his weapon, and you get to use that weapon in the future for going through levels or on the bosses. And sometimes the bosses are weak to particular weapons. So, okay, so I'm going to run through my order. It was Airman, Crashman, Flashman, Quickman, Metal Man, Bubble Man, Heat Man, Woodman. And then the previous time, I did Metal Man, Woodman, Airman, Crashman, Flashman, Quickman, Bubble Man, Heat Man. Heat Man's usually toward the end because that level is kind of hard.
Yeah.
Do you remember what your order was?
Just trying to remember. I feel like I know it was Metal Man. I'm pretty sure it was Woodman next. I think Bubble Man maybe next, just because I knew Metal Gear would work on that. Flashman, then Airman, then Crashman, then did Heat last.
So I think what I'm trying to illustrate here with this question and explanation is that this particular game doesn't seem like it's so prescriptive. I feel like there are a lot of options. Whereas for some reason I felt like in my memory, Mega Man 1 and 3 were just way too tough to do if you didn't do them in the exact correct order.
Yeah, Mega Man 1 is just like brutal, and it like teases you because it makes you want to do it out of order because like there are those those Gutman blocks or whatever that you can only move on certain stages if you have the power ups, and like that's not the boss you usually want to do in the beginning. So I feel like Mega Man 1 was like so oppressively difficult I never really even attempted it. But yeah, the bosses in Mega Man 3 I felt like were way more punishing, and if you didn't have their weaknesses, it was just like, yeah, why are you even bothering? You need to be like really, really good to kill them with the Buster Cannon, and I was never that skilled.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty cool that this was a little bit more free. And it's funny because I seem to remember the idea being that this one was hard also.
Really?
But
This one had a
looking
rep as
back,
being.
I feel like
I when you said like that this was a passion project, I feel like I was like all the programmers realized the error of their ways and were like, no, we need to make the more accessible version of this. Like we can't do like Super Mario's Lost Level Punishment Round 2. We need to actually make a game that's more accessible to play and fun to play. But
yeah, now I feel that way too. Like it's just so obviously so much easier than the first game. So what did you find in general about this game and the weapons that you get from the bosses and the necessity and their usefulness and all that?
I guess I was kind of surprised going back to what you said before that this was like a pure passion project because I feel like there definitely was, it seemed like usefulness to all of the items. At least I tried to even make use of them on the stages, even especially like like Metal Gear or Metal Blade itself is obviously like the Swiss Army knife, but like all the other
Mm,
weapons tend to have uses too that make them like interesting to like if you're mindful to swap out to them, that they actually do make the stages way easier. And even like the items 1, 2, and 3, you can get kind of creative with making some of the jump challenges trivial if you just think a little bit more. So I did enjoy all of them and like kind of tried to use them all like pretty actively. I feel like Woodman and maybe like Flame Man, I never used them on like regular stages, but like all the other ones, like they actually are useful and helpful. So it's kind of fun.
mm.
I feel like it's like similarly when you're playing like Ocarina of Time or any of the Zelda games where you finally get all the items and you get the ultimate puzzle quest at the end. I kind of enjoy doing that. So it seems like they put a lot of thought into the items and making them fun and useful outside of just being a boss's weakness for the most part.
Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't remember a whole lot about how the weapons worked against the bosses that you had to fight
Mm.
following, acquiring those weapons. And I didn't recall really ever even using them during the levels when I was a kid. Like I always used the regular Buster Shot
Yeah.
and then only switched to the weapons occasionally. But this time I played the game twice. I played it once the first time and I abused the Metal Blade. I started with Metal Man and then I just used that instead of the basic Buster Shot for the
Yep.
whole. I never used the Buster again unless the Metal Blade didn't work, but then by then I had weapons from someone else anyway. But that was a really fun way to play because it made the game super easy. Because
Yep.
if you're not familiar with Mega Man, he's shooting this little pea shot in one direction, left to right or right to left, just on a flat plane. But Metal Blade will shoot in 8 directions. And a lot of times in Mega Man games, each shot takes a lot of your ammo meter. And in this case, it barely takes anything. So essentially, it's super overpowered. It has nearly unlimited ammo. The game gives you a lot of replenishment all the time. So I just pick up the replenishing items, used the Metal Blade, and went through the whole game until the Metal Blade didn't work on something. And then used the specific weapons that bosses were weak to as I came across them based on, the internet. And I had like a really easy run of the game. And then I played it again because when you were doing your stream, I looked up the instruction manual, and in the book, at the end, it just says how to beat Airman. So I said, oh, I wonder if they wanted you to go do Airman stage first and start that way. So just this
Whoa.
morning, I did another run through, starting with Airman and going through. And I was using all of the weapons as I got them as much as I could. And I discovered a lot of fun stuff, like with certain weapons that are strong against certain basic enemies.
Yeah. Definitely the
There's
annoying
way more than
enemies.
I expected.
I feel like there's a couple weapons or enemies I should have learned their weakness to or figured out if they do have one. But like the one I know I used all the time was the Airman's one against those giant purple jumper things that have a guy who shoots in them. Those things would always
Yeah.
jump on me. So Airman is so clutch against them.
Yeah, the air shot, so airman shot, it shoots the three tornadoes that kind of swoop up in an arc, and it takes that thing out completely, just
Yeah.
leaving the guy sitting on the floor, which is really cool. Airman's weapon was really strong against a bunch of things as I went through the game, which was nice,
Hmm.
especially since I didn't do Metal Blade that second time until the fifth
Yeah, actually
level.
getting something to shoot up would be nice, and Airman could do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Crash Man has environmental ability. You know, you can shoot the crash, whatever it's called, bomb thing up against these breakable walls, and that opens up paths for you.
Hmm.
I thought that was cool. Flash Man has the Time Stopper, who will essentially be the only way I could ever finish one of the other stages, Quick
Uh,
Man.
which is funny too because like I wound up dying on that stage the first time, being like, fine, I'll go back and get Flashman. So I get Flashman and then I do the stage and I keep like waiting to use Flashman until I need it, and I just did the stage without Flashman. I was like, oh,
Really?
yeah. I was like, well,
Oh, wow.
that's nice. I guess I then I remembered that the boss is weak to Flashman, so I was like, well, I guess it works out if you don't use it during the laser section. You can use it against the boss. But yeah.
Yeah. That was nuts. It had all those lasers coming in from the sides, and it does it in two parts. And that first part kind of gives you a taste, and you can get through it
Mm,
relatively easily. At least I did. But then that second
you gotta
part,
have it
I tried to do it.
memorized.
Yeah, pretty much. You got to do the trial and error thing. Or if you're like me, you save it. I was just, dressed in my little pink suit as a Flash Man.
Mm,
And once I saw that I was about to get hit by the laser, then I hit the button and it froze it and
yep.
kept it on until the end.
Yep.
Funny thing with that, though, is that it just uses your entire bar every time. You can't cancel out of
I
it.
know.
So then,
That's the annoying thing. Yeah.
yeah.
I found the Flashman to be also useful on Airman's stage because I found like I hated waiting for those little cones to pop up and then go down. So you can kind of just like run through Airman's stage really fast with Flashman
Oh,
and just
yeah.
power through it. Like I that was one of my good epiphanies going through the game.
Yeah. So you didn't love that about that, or are you just impatient?
No. I mean, it wasn't like a bad or like an unfair game mechanic or anything. I was just like, this is like more frustrating and challenging than it needs to be. Is there a way I can make it easier? Oh, let me use the item I'm otherwise
Oh,
going to
yeah,
let
it
sit in my
is.
inventory.
Yeah. I didn't even think of that. That is a good use of that.
Yeah, I tried to use item 3 a lot too, like the wall climber one. Like that one makes like even parts of Heatman stage easy. Like I used all I for some reason
Oh,
waited to use
true.
I used all the items on Heatman stage. I was like, "Yep, I'm not
Yeah.
doing that jump block thing. Just use item 2 and then you can climb up the walls on the other sections with item 3." I'm like, "Yep, this is fun. This is the fun way of doing the
Yeah.
stage."
I feel like I never used item 3 though. Or like only when I got to Wily's castle at some point did I use it.
Yeah,
But it and 1 are kind of interchangeable,
pretty much,
you know.
yeah. Like one's just a better version of item 3, I think. Like,
Right, cuz it goes up also but doesn't require a wall.
yeah, exactly, and yeah, it lasts longer.
Yeah. I'm trying to think how I played Mega Man games when I was a kid. Like, did I have some magazine that said the right order to do
Mm.
it? Did I have some friend who told me? Because I don't remember. Because this time going through, I just looked it up. I said, okay, who's strong? Or like, who's a good start? What kills who? And I just went in a good order. And it was so easy.
You did the
It was
research
like,
ahead of how. Yeah, I at
yeah.
least knew Metal Blade was like the cheater. I was like, I'm gonna get Metal Blade and then take it from there, and I know like it'll make the game easy. But I did not remember
Hmm.
all the specific weaknesses.
Yeah, it made it easy. It made it enjoyable because, like, it's fun being super strong, but while still having to navigate the jumping and the moving around and stuff.
Yeah.
But when I went through and played it the other way, I felt like, I don't know, it was more rewarding to play. Like, I got more out of it and I found more interesting things about it.
Mhm. I didn't find a good use for Flame. I was like, there has to be an enemy that Flame is good against, or a boss that's Flame is good against. Because like, I don't even remember using it against a boss. Even like,
Oh, so the flame shot. Let's do this. Let's talk about a couple of these levels, some specifics, in the order that I did them this morning,
Mm.
just to put it in some sort of order, specifically because it tells you this is how you beat Airman in the manual. So that was just so interesting to me. So Airman, he's easy with the regular shot, but that level is like immediately interesting for platforming. You said you didn't
Yeah.
like the little drills, but there was a lot going on. It had really interesting artwork, great music, and a lot of like kind of fun platforming sections. For example, it had, in addition to those faces with the drill things that spit smaller versions of them out of their ears, you had later on enemies that like throw lightning bolts at you that are on these floating clouds with
Hmm.
little helicopter blades, and you have to kill them, then jump off of the one that you're on onto one of those. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Airman himself is kind of a interesting boss in that he keeps you at bay. Like everything, he shoots his tornadoes and just pushes you away and away and away. So you kind of just have to spam him. I think was there something that you did that was more effective than just spamming and hoping you didn't get killed first?
Oh yeah, no, it was pretty much like I knew, like I was like, who's he weak to? Oh, he's got to be weak to Woodman, and then I was like, whatever, just get in close to him and blast him a bunch of times. But yeah, no, it was more like the trick was like dodging his first tornado. It's like if you jumped over the one shot, you could get close enough to him, and then once you could duke it out with them, they the bosses died pretty quick if you knew their weaknesses for the most part.
Hmm. Yeah, I used the leaf shield on him the first time,
Nah.
but I didn't think it really was that much better than the regular shot.
Really? That's I mean maybe because the leaf shield does get deflected easily, like it's kind of hard to
Oh,
hit him with
maybe
the leaf
it's
stuff. But
too
like
big.
yeah, if you stand like right next to him when it does like the circle around your body part of it, that's the part to like really damage him with. I found
Oh, it
like
tears him up.
yeah, like you could just like hit like you can like pat like kill him like really quickly. Like you don't even need to target him.
Yeah.
But yeah, like trying to get it through while he's doing that pushback phase. I do remember being like getting annoyed, so just face tanked him. Like it's kind of surprising how many of the bosses you can kind of just like face tank them and just hit them with their own like weakness and they die. Yeah. What'd you do after Airman?
Crash Man was next because he's vulnerable to air. And it's cool because that level is also very vertical. So to follow it up, and you have a vertical
Ah,
weapon, huh?
that makes
Pretty
sense.
cool. He jumps up in the air a lot himself, which is good to get hit by the air tornado also. Then he gives you his weapon, which we said can open up paths in the level by just blowing up walls. And that is something you have to do in Flashman, which has some cool music, right? That's the one that's.
Yes.
Is that it?
That was totally flat. It's funny, like as we're going talking about the stages, I totally can hear their music as we're talking about
Yeah.
them.
I heard or read that the music that Tateishi made originally was a different soundtrack and it didn't quite fit with the game. So Kitamura gave him some simple prompts for each level to kind of give it the feeling of what he wanted to do, what he wanted it to sound like. So, like, for example, one of them was something like, run, 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 hurry, hurry, hurry. And another one was like, you're in the sky. Like he just gave him these prompts. So he created the music with the level in mind based on these prompts. And I feel like they all pretty much are nailed by the
Yeah,
composer.
I feel like yeah, there's not a bad track on there. I'm like, I feel like the least memorable is Crash Man's, but other than that, like, I feel like I know all of them. Like, and Dr. Wily's is awesome too. Like, I love all the music.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Now, there was definitely one that I was like, oh, this is cool music. And then I was like, wait a second. This music gets like a little annoying. Oh, it's Quick Man. I wrote that down. I was like, as it first started, I was like, oh, this one's cool too. And then after a few screens, I was just like, okay, now it's a little annoying actually. But yeah, most of them were just so solid. Like I couldn't necessarily pick a favorite. I used to think Bubble Man was my favorite, or Wily one, but then all of them are good. Airman's good, Flashman's good, Metal Man's good.
Yeah.
Woodman is really good.
Yep.
I can't believe it. I can't believe how good this soundtrack was, and then the guy didn't continue to do the entire Mega Man franchise for the rest of his life.
Dropped his bomb. He got his Magnus
That was
Opus
it.
and just left.
And he's like, I'm out of here. I think he might have gone along with Kitamura when Kitamura left Capcom during Mega Man 3 and started a new company, but that company didn't really make a lot of blockbuster hits. So kind of like fell off the radar a little bit.
We'll have to go see if he has any banger tracks in these esoteric video games that are probably Japanese release only.
Yeah. I actually played one of them that was Japanese only. It was supposed to be sort of similar to Mega Man, and I played for, I don't know, a couple minutes, and I was like, well, maybe the creator of Mega Man was not the reason that the actual games were good, because the Mega Man games stayed good, and this was not impressive right away. Because remember, he was the creator of the character. He was the artist. He didn't do the programming. Yeah. He had some ideas about how he wanted the game to be designed, but he didn't do it.
Yeah, no, getting like a really smooth platformer is like really hard, and that intuitive feel is not something that an artist is going to be able to program.
Yeah. So, I mean, the level design is platforming. It's definitely like strongly platforming, right? But it's also pretty strongly shooting. Did you feel like it was one more than the other, or how did you feel about the balance of all of the parts of the game?
I'd be very curious what the game is like on the difficult setting or like the normal setting. Not the easy mode, because I'd be curious, because I felt like with Metal Blade the shooting sections are very easy. Most of the stages are like pretty quick run and gun through them. It makes it trivial. Going Buster Cannon only, I'm sure it'd be way harder to deal with a lot of the enemies. But yeah, no, the platforming was a reasonable amount of it. I'm not like a huge lover of platforming, but I felt like it didn't make it too obnoxious. There wasn't like too many like super painful sections in the game. I did crack up, like when the dragon sneaks up on you at that one point where it like all of a sudden rushes you to start making the jumps really quickly. I was doing them slow and deliberate at first, so it instantly punishes you for that, and I just started cracking up. I was like, well, I guess you can't go slow at that part. You gotta full send it.
Yeah, same thing happened to me. Like you get to that last kind of empty hall and you have to jump on single blocks from left to right. So obviously I'm going to go slow. There's no enemy on the screen.
Exactly. There's nothing rushing.
But if you're not rushing to the right side of the screen, then he's gonna hit you no matter what.
The only auto scroller in the game. Like, that's funny. They built the auto scroller mechanic and only use it at that section. Like, it's like so funny that they use it for such a small portion of time. But yeah. I don't know. It's like I feel like there's like a cinematography thing where you do like a weird cut that like the audience doesn't expect. I feel like it has a very similar effect. Like, oh, I just broke the video game rules that we established, so you're gonna feel this one. Some Kubrick
Yeah,
cut.
I wonder what percentage of players that dragon kills the first time they play. 100?
I'm sure so many. Like it totally just scares the crap out of you, and I'm sure so many people fall into the pit. I bet it has like a 15%, 10% completion rate the first time. Like, yeah. Yeah, and plus if you don't know to use like the quick gun on it too, I'm sure like you're fumbling between weapons while spazzing out. Yeah, I'm sure that's not easy.
So, what do you think of like the standard enemy design? Did anything stand out to you or impress you this time going through that you hadn't noticed before?
I don't know about the enemy design. I felt like a lot of the level design was especially forgiving too, and like there was a lot of like power up halls. It felt like where like those little drill things would just be falling out, and just like okay, here's where you get to do your wonderful little recharges.
Mm-hmm. I did so much like quote unquote grinding like that
Yeah.
in those areas.
Yeah, so it seemed like it was very mindful to make it so that you could recover for the most part. So I like the level design itself. The enemies, they were like very goofy. Like it's funny how like silly a lot of the enemies are.
Yeah.
Like the ones that are like the jester riding a giant cog wheel, like that's attacking you in Metal Man. Like that
Mm-hmm.
thing's weird. Even like the fish in Wily's castle, like the sharks that are attacking you. Like if you actually look at this fish, they look like such little goofy things. Like you're like, uh,
Yeah.
what is this weird thing?
Keiji Inafune had said in interviews that he was definitely trying to go more anime style. Like obviously it's NES, right? And it's pixel art, but as the series went on, his goal was always to get it closer to anime and further away from like Super Mario Brothers 1.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it definitely has. I can see that influence in that art style, like the enemies with the big eyes and stuff. Totally get
Lots of
that.
character.
Yeah, they do seem very cutesy for killer robots. There's a lot of personality into the characters. I totally agree there.
Yeah, I'm thinking about some of the like the frogs on
Oh, those
Bubble Man
frogs.
stage,
That's the hardest part of
the
Bubble Man's
apes.
stage is like that first screen with the frogs. It's a breeze once you get past the
But it's
frogs.
a good challenge. I like that they stick them on the end of the platform.
Oh
They
man.
shoot their little babies at you. So like the gameplay challenge is okay, defeat this enemy before you're allowed to jump.
Mm,
And I think they did a lot of that pretty mindfully.
yeah.
They always kind of bunch up the same enemies together. They'll do like a few instances of the same enemies to let you explore how it is to fight them
Yep.
and kind of like ramp it up or down with them. And then after a few screens of that, switch over and say, here's a different enemy. And they didn't do a ton of mixing enemies to make it chaotic, which I
Yeah.
think is cool. Like it's not like some Castlevanias where
Yeah.
it's just a night, or like Ninja Gaiden where there's just a nightmare of many types of enemies randomly sprinting across your screen at a given point.
Yeah, no, it definitely felt fair and it ramped you up. Like, yeah, definitely the frogs would gradually ease you in difficulty. Similar with like the cats that were shooting things, like they go from like a straightforward fight to a little bit more hard fight to like the more complicated fight. So yeah, definitely doesn't just like throw. I can't think of any actually in the game that were just like completely unfair challenges. Like the closest that comes is like the dragon that sneaks up on you, but I feel like for a boss fight that gives you like a save very shortly before that, they're gonna throw something unfair at you. It seems reasonable to do it then.
Yeah. There's this one enemy that I love called Prop Top, because
Yeah, that.
it would show up and it was like kind of challenging if you wanted to hang out there and farm them, but they were very farmable for item replenishment, like ammo replenishment
Yep.
and health. So it was always like a fun little mini game when those guys were around because a certain number of them could be on screen. And when you killed one off, a new one would fall down, and you were just kind of like going through, saying, "Okay, now I'll re-up my metal. Now I'll re-up my air. I'll re-up my item number, whatever."
Exactly.
So I liked when they built in sections like that too, where you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was certainly a game where I did not ever, except for in a few cases, feel like I was limited with my ammo. So the quick man stage where you use up your flash before you get to the boss, the first time I went through, I was able to replenish it before I got to quick man, and the second time through I just kind of like forgot to grind it out and I went in there without it. And then there's a part later in Wily's castle where you need the crash man bomb thing, whatever it's called,
Yeah.
to beat the boss. You talked about it, but you also are kind of using it in the level, which is kind of
It
annoying.
baits you, yeah. It totally tricks you.
So it's just a couple times. Otherwise, I think it's really good about not leaving you like that.
Yeah, it's interesting too. That boss is like balanced in a way though that like it really doesn't hurt you. It's not that punishing of a boss. It's like an attrition fight. It's like very like all the other boss fights are very actiony based. That's like the fun like cerebral boss fight where you kind of just need to be like very slow and deliberate about it compared to jumping around and spazzing. So I think it honestly works even though it is a little frustrating. It's not like unfair frustrating. The stage also gives you an E-tank on it too, so like you do get like a little extra health.
Yes.
So it's not the worst to kind of just tank it. But yeah, I went into the boss. I died one time because I didn't have the E-tank on the very last shot, and I was like, oh my god, I guess I'm getting the E-tank next time. Of course, the next time I fought the boss, I did not need the E-tank, and I was like, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Glad I have it now. Yeah, exactly.
The E-Tank is new to Mega Man 2. And when they were developing it, somebody on the team was like, I'm not sure about this E-Tank thing.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I feel like it was a great addition.
Yeah.
I definitely used one a couple times.
I didn't use it a ton, but it is just like nice to just actually have a consumable or something to rely on. Like
just in that case where you're like, oh, I made it through most of this level, but I have no health and I'm coming up on the boss. Oh, look, I have 4 E-tanks.
Exactly. Exactly. Like
great. Basically, all it does is it prevents you from having to die and restart that level. Because like that's what you would do. You'd be like, okay, so I have no health. I'll just die to this boss and it'll restart me with full health. So it's kind of a time saver, just convenient.
Yep. Yeah, I was surprised how little time like just dying and restarting the stage actually took up. Like I felt like psychologically I never wanted to do it, but like on the few times I had to do it, I was like, oh wow, I can fly through this stage the second time around. It's like when you know where everything's coming, it's not that hard to just go right through every screen in 5 seconds. Like, yeah, it's not even that bad.
Yeah. And it's unlimited continues. You can just continue where you were with the same number of bosses defeated and go right back at it. I think the only thing that you lose is all your E-tanks.
Yeah.
So that's fine. It's basically just play forever, which is great.
Yeah, a generous style that more Nintendo games should have done rather than you lose, go back to the beginning of the game. Like, I hate you. Why?
Yeah.
You have 3 lives to beat the entire game.
Yeah. No, none of that. This is not Contra. This is very reasonable.
Yes.
I found some like crazy stuff that I didn't know before. So Quick Man, you would normally just use Metal Blade, right? Because you use it for everything. I used the Crash gun on him too, and it just demolished him. It took like 2 or 3
Quick Man,
hits.
that's funny. That's
yeah. If you can catch him, you know. And what happened with me was I hit him and it like went through him and hit the wall behind him and then it sticks and after a few seconds blows up. And then he jumped away and jumped back and it blew up when he jumped back and it just
Nice.
destroyed him immediately. It was like a one hit. And I was going to say earlier, the heat cannon, if you charge it up to full, it charges to 3 levels. It will take out Woodman in a single shot.
Wow, I don't think I used Heatman's weapon once because you're like you charge it up. I'm like, there's a charge weapon in the game. Like, wow, yeah,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah, that's kind of a weird weapon because later on in the series you can just charge the Mega Buster. So
Yeah,
it's kind of the same thing.
the
They
precursor.
had a plan to make the Woodman stage respond to the heat gun so you could shoot like trees or something and burn down enemies.
Oh, that'd be funny.
But I guess they couldn't really accomplish that.
Yes. Yeah, Woodman's is one of the longer stages, I feel like. I felt like it's that probably was someone's particular passionate project over there.
Mm, solid music. But what I wrote for the Woodman stage was kind of unremarkable level, question mark, because I got to the end and I said to myself, oh, I forgot what I just played.
Yeah.
But that's the one with the monkeys and a lot of the birds with the little eggs they drop.
The robot bats that are round shaped. Yeah, those things.
Let's see, what are some fun things? So I definitely liked the Flashman going through kind of like the similar to the Super Mario Brothers castle maze where you choose which path you want to be on
Mm-hmm.
and get to the end. And then you have to go like either left or right as you're falling down. And you'll either go into an area with tons of enemies or an area with tons of power ups.
Yep.
It's like so binary. What else? Metal Man. Just the whole level was pretty cool because it had all those moving parts and it had background bits that were moving. It had the gears you were walking on that were moving. It had those kind of like thwomps from Mario, those falling spike
Yep.
traps on the chain. It was a cool level too.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite section, something that was really cool to you as you were playing? Like, for example, jumping on those phasing blocks over that long pit of lava, which is
That
everyone's favorite part of the game in Heatman stage.
I saved item 2 specifically not to do that.
Yeah, I did not do that either. That part is terrible.
I was okay. The funny thing is, like, there's like the section. Like, I feel like the next most difficult platforming section is the on Wily one, I believe, where like you have to use item 1, but like stretch it across the whole gap. I remember I did the
Hmm.
item 1 the first time. I was like, oh, I'm so surprised I did that just to immediately get by an enemy on the next screen and fall down. I was like, wow,
Hmm.
made it past the hard part to die to the easy part. Yes.
Yeah, some of those parts are kind of precise where like that one in particular, the first time I did it, I didn't reach out to the side far enough, so by the time I got to the ladder that I was trying to reach, I was too high up and
Yep.
just would have to jump into the ceiling.
It's pretty, yeah, it's a pretty tight timing. Like, yeah, that one would have definitely frustrated Kid Brian for sure. It requires a bit of precise coordination and, like, a plan of attack. Because, like, yeah, you do need to, like, lay your platform, walk to, like, the far side of your platform, and quickly lay your next one.
Before it goes up too high.
Exactly. It's a very tricky timing, and then you get punished and sent all the way back down, and that stupid little spring's probably gonna whack you.
Yeah. That reminds me of also the Crash Man stage, kind of like got on my nerves a little bit. Like anything where I was climbing too many ladders because you cannot catch the ladder as you're falling on the same screen. You have to fall a screen down if you don't,
Oh,
if there's not
really?
a platform
I
to
didn't
land
know
on.
that. That's funny.
How'd you like the water physics in Bubble Man? and I guess in one of the Wily levels.
It's surprisingly reasonable. Like, I don't know, like it's kind of just like fun. Like you trying to just get like super jump for a while.
Yeah.
The spikes are a little bit tricky on the stages, but yeah, like I feel like that'd be a stage if I was doing without Metal Blade would be probably kind of annoying. Like there's probably some of those sections where like you're trying to go down a vertical drop and there's spikes all along the walls, but there's also enemies coming up at you. That would be super annoying, but yeah.
They kept it not so crazy though. I felt like when I was a kid, I jumped into those spikes
Yeah,
constantly.
exactly.
And I felt like I didn't hit them at all. Like ever.
I was
I mean, I was
very
super
cautious.
careful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I did a lot of when you're trying to jump up onto the next platform, not jumping far enough, like 5 times, to only
Yes.
finally hold the button enough to get over it. But I never jumped crashed my head into the spikes on the ceiling.
I don't think I did either. Yeah, like there is like one Wily stage like where you gotta dodge the spikes as you're falling down. That one probably got me like 2 times before I figured it out, but yeah.
At this point, at the end of the episode, we like to say whether a game was worth revisiting and whether it is worth replaying for people who haven't yet gone back to replay it. If it is, then it's a smash. If it's not, then it's a brick. So, Brian, I think I know which way you're going to go on this, but tell us, is it a smash or a brick?
It's a smashing success! Mega Man 2! Go check it out today! If you haven't played it in the last 26 years, today's the day! Go play Mega Man 2! You heard it here, folks!
Yeah.
Still holds up, though. It's still a fun one.
Yeah, I totally agree. Smash for me. I don't see any reason why everyone shouldn't go back and play Mega Man 2 for fun. It's great. It's not so punishing. It's not exceedingly easy. It's enjoyable. Like, even though we said that it's easy when you kind of like use the tricks, it still
A challenge.
is rewarding
Yeah, it's
in
not
the
trivial.
puzzles that it gives you. Yeah. And it feels really good to play. All the controls are really tight.
It's not loosey goosey.
It just feels like what an NES game should feel like, which the first one didn't. There was always that little like minor delay when you would hit the jump button in the first game, which was awful. I couldn't stand it. But this is kind of like pixel perfect platforming and shooting, and I'm into that. So smash from me. Smash from Brian.
Smash.
So with that, Mega Man 2 is a smash and is worth revisiting in 2024 and beyond, and 2025 since we're almost there. Thank you everyone for listening and playing along if you did. I know you had a short notice on this one, but I wanted to squeeze this one in for December 24th and to give us a nice even number to finish season 3 of Smashing Bricks on. This was the last episode. If you enjoy Smashing Bricks and haven't done so yet, please go to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting platform and leave us a 5-star rating and review. Since you're here listening all the way to the end, you must like this show. You head over to patreon.smashingbricks.com or patreon.com/smashingbricks and support the show monetarily if you would like to. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month. You can choose games that might be played on upcoming Power Up episodes. Just at the $5 tier, you get bonus episodes every month, so you're getting twice the amount of Smashing Bricks. You can get ongoing recognition like Ms. Muso, my Tanuki level supporter, is getting right now. And you could even join me as a guest on the show at one of the higher tiers of support. Head over to the Discord, discord.smashingbricks.com, and talk with us about everything. Make suggestions, talk about the games we played or the games that are upcoming, and check out the link tree, linktr.ee/smashingbricks for links to everything. Next episode, I'm just going to say the same thing I said at the end of the previous episode before I added this surprise episode in between. I'm going to be joined by Leon Cox from the Cane and Rinse podcast, and it will be a Power Up episode. We're going to be playing Fable for the Microsoft Xbox from 2004. Get your hands on a copy, play along, send in your thoughts, and join us next time on Smashing Bricks. That wraps it up for today. I'm still Eddie Inzauto. That is Brian Brandes.
Woo!
And until next time, may the nostalgia be with you.
Dun, 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 dun.